Okay, here is a quick question I need to ask. Women are constantly coming on YouTube and social media saying that they divorce not for the major things like cheating or domestic violence, but things that add up over a period of time. And is it fair that they would take such drastic actions for simple, small, little things? And this is a question that I'm going to be addressing because I've just seen a video by Anton, one of my favorite social media guys, who speaks openly about relationships and give his point of view with regards to trending videos around the area of relating and relationship. So I'm going to allow the video to play. I'm doing a reaction on Anton's reaction video because I think that Anton kind of got it a bit wrong, I'm sorry to say. And he is giving a typical masculine view. Not that the feminine view is right, but there is much to be said within the conversation of how relationship can erode over a period of time to the point of no return. This is something that I call romantic entropy. I've dealt with it in other videos. And also death by a thousand cuts, mini, and also death by 1,000 small paper cuts. And actually, that's what the video is called. Let's just hear a bit of it and I'll comment as we go along.
When I first started telling people I was separating or separated and divorced, people would always say like, oh, did he hit you? Did he abuse you? Bitch, no, I didn't go through that. Now, some people do. For me, it was literal like marriage death by 1,000 cuts.
You hear that? Marriage death by 1,000 cuts. All right, keep that in mind. We'll come back to that.
It was small things every single day over the course of years that led to separating and divorcing. Now, there were a couple of big things, but those small things over the years, oh my gosh. And a lot of us have like a mix of all these things. I wanted to talk about some of the things that I experienced that people may not even really think are a big deal, but they definitely added up.
Notice how whenever these women start to lead with this, and even if they're giving you the reaction of what people say as far as why they got divorced, it's always, what did he do to you? We've been marketed to this way. This is the way that it's been communicated, and it's never anything that has to do with her. It's always 100% his fault.
Okay, so I think Anton is onto something here because women tend to think that they have done everything they possibly can. Even when I deal with couples, I coach couples, most women will give me a litany, a list of a whole barrage of things that they have done, that they have tolerated, that they have tried, including counseling. And hence, when they come to the point of moving out, separating, divorcing, in their minds, they've actually tried everything in the book. That is not exactly the real case because maybe they've tried a lot of things, but the way they've gone about it may not necessarily augment well with their spouses. So yes, you're right on, Anton. Women tend to posit themselves as if they A, are the victim, and B, they have done all that could have been done on the face of the earth to make their relationship survive. But it has fallen flat, and because of the non-engagement of the man and non-buying of the man, then they had no other recourse than to let it go, to walk away.
So one of them was I would always ask my ex to like, before we go to bed, like, hey, are their doors locked? He would get so mad at me when I would ask that question because he didn't want to get up to go check the doors. Mind you, military man. So he was deployed a lot. So
okay, so let's just talk about that for a little bit. The man would get very upset. Obviously, I don't know the context, but I'm presuming that this military guy is a guy who was out there, maybe, in the trenches fighting wars. So he knows what real danger is, and he has been exposed to life and death situation. If he's in his house, he's tired, and in the safety of his community, definitely he won't. A lot of men, him particularly, won't actually think that there is any major danger that would affect them. And if he's tired and in his bed, well, snuggle up, and you're going to ask him to get up and go and close the door, that's something that probably would annoy him. However, it lands differently for her. Women, generally, the major emotion that they feel is fear. The major thing that women want is safety and security. She hasn't been exposed to the things that he's been exposed to. And definitely as a military man, as a soldier, she's expecting a certain level of protection from him. She admits in a little while that she has been closing up and locking the place. So men and women are slightly different oriented. And I don't know how she approached it. Maybe it's the way she approached it that annoys him. Maybe he's very tired and don't want to get up. And in his mind, they are not exposed to the type of danger that he was up against when he's in the battlefield. So why is she bothering him? So I can see it from both sides.
So I always had to be hypervigilant for months on end, for years, at the most 8 months, doing things on my. So having that relief of like, oh, he's home, he can make sure we're safe, but then not having that, insane.
Okay, yeah. I think she's dismissing his perception, and we're not having the full picture of how he feels about that. So, yeah, we just need to take it with a grain of salt. But she feels it. It was a big deal for her. It's what they would call a mental, emotional load for her. Her safety was important. He's not stepping up to the plate, which brings us to a very important point about roles, masculine roles and feminine roles. And from the way she's coming at it, she has certain expectations of what the man is supposed to do. And she definitely feels that she is being robbed of the privilege of being protected from whatever phase that she has. And of course, she's putting it out as a very simple thing. It means a lot to her. But I think if we were to speak to him, it would be a totally different picture. And I don't know how she approached it. Obviously, she's very cheesed off. She's swearing. And if that's the attitude she took with her, then I could see that she would get his back up. He would dig his heel in and probably just ignore her.
For years. Then I just eventually stopped asking, right? I also stopped asking him to fix things or to put things together, because when he would do that, he would have an attitude. So it would either break or it wouldn't be put together correctly and break later on. So once again, I stopped asking, made me stronger, whatever, made me figure it out. But once again, I shouldn't have had to be strong in that way.
Okay, so this is another assumption and presumption that many women make, again, around the issue of roles. Many women tend to think that all men, need to be able to do DIY. And probably, yes, maybe they have a point with that, but not all of us can fix things, can be DIY persons. I remember I've never been to plumbing school, I've never studied plumbing, but from the persistence of my wife, I eventually had to install a toilet. I'm actually proud of myself, but it was grief. I spent almost a day and a half trying to get that toilet installed, making several trips to the DIY store, the hardware store that is. So not all men are able to fix things around the house, and perhaps we need to adjust our thinking around that. If it is that he was able and capable and he didn't do it, well, she has a point.
I should have been able to trust. I planned all of our family trips, all of our dates.
Yo, man, listen. I've heard all of these stories before, and I'm definitely going to play the whole thing because I want to get the full context. But let me just tell you, bro, all of these things are so small, so minuscule, and it seems like it lingered. It could have been fixed, communication more effectively. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to figure out how to minimize the small, little, stupid, insignificant things and start leaning more into why you are in this position in the first place. You got to get back to the dating phase, get back to the things that's important. Maybe the way that you handle things may be completely different than what it does in a traditional relationship. You know what I'm saying? So it's weird to see people break up when there's no cheating, no assault, no infidelity, none of that.
Okay, well, before we...
There's no cheating, no assault, no infidelity, none of that.
Okay, so let me just say, Anton, while it may seem very simple, very insignificant, very stupid, because the way you're coming across, you're literally invalidating and dismissing her feelings. Whether or not you die by a bullet or a stab or a knife, or if you were slowly poisoned over the years by people putting traces of poison in your food, ultimately it ends in a death. And death by 1,000 paper cuts is a real thing. And sometimes it's the last straw that breaks the camel back. I do subscribe to the thought that, yes, they probably could have approached it differently. Yes, I think that they could upskill themselves. Yes, I agree that the techniques that she's probably using, although she feels justified in her ultimate decision of divorcing, I think that a lot of divorces can be avoided if only people themselves, if only people use the correct strategies and techniques in this day and age with the amount of knowledge that we have. That is an easy thing to do. A simple thing to do, maybe not an easy thing. And I always quote Alain de Botton, who says that our error is to think that we have been born let me start again. De Botton says that our error is to think that we were born to love, and that the ability to manage our relationship is intuitive, and I agree, it has been a bane of mine. It is indeed an error for us to think that way. Then he concludes by saying, love is a skill to be learned, not a feeling to be felt. And that's what I'm dealing with. I'm actually writing a book at the end of writing a book that relates to this, and let me show you. Just bear with me while I pull it up. Is that out? Okay, yes, right. And this is exactly why I've written this book. I'm in the final draft of it. Finally heard. Emotional intelligence for women, to be heard, understood, and to stop arguments. And these are some of the chapters. Finally heard how to use emotional intelligence to break the cycle of misunderstanding, blow-ups, and shutdown. Let's just look at some of the titles. Why we stop hearing each other, the woman carrying it all, when he shuts down and she shuts out, what are you going to do about it? There's a part 2, why we talk past each other. It's not about love, it's about wiring. Trigger words and conversations that derail, what he's really saying when he's saying nothing. And then there's part 3, the tools that actually work, safe conversations, a new way to talk so that men could listen, and listen so that men could talk. The art of validation, that is really, really important. Speaking without blame, the language of connection. When things escalate, how to pause without walking away. And then finally heard, small shifts, big changes, daily practices that stick. And guess what? You don't have to be like this lady walking away. Your story isn't over. If you want a copy of this book, just say, yes, Hilton, I want a copy of the book. Send me a DM, a message, or let me know where I could send you the link, because it will be out within a week or so.